Below the streets of Toronto is a labyrinth of pedestrian walkways and subway tracks. It's one of the busiest subway networks in the world, with over 1 million riders daily. Currently, there are over 100 stations, featuring unique art, design, and architecture. These subterranean cathedrals are dynamic and colorful. Some are new and beautiful, while others are retro and nostalgic. It's a world usually navigated by distracted commuters and walked over by unsuspecting visitors. And in this video, I'm uncovering some of the city's 1970s era stations and their stories. This video was shot on the new DJI Osmo Pocket 4, but more on that later in the video. Today I'm starting at Finch Station, which is the northern terminus of the eastern stretch of Line 1. Line 1 is like a giant U under the city. Finch Station connects to regional bus services and is one of the busiest stations on the subway network. As the northern terminus location, a lot of suburban commuters use this station to travel downtown. Finch Station opened in 1974 thanks to efforts by the Premier of Ontario, Bill Davis, and Borough of North York Mayor Mel Lastman, who was a strong advocate for the Line 1 extension. Prior to the 1970s, this section of Line 1 only extended as far as Eglinton Station, which was the original Line 1 northern terminus since the 1950s. Finch Avenue and the transit station are named after John Finch, a hotel owner whose inn was located near the subway entrance. There's actually a commemorative green space where the Finch Hotel once stood, which operated until 1873. The station has many different entrances, and it's a sprawling network underneath the Yonge and Finch intersection. The station was built by the in-house team at TTC, and its design and aesthetic has a familiar look and feel to other stations of the era. It's a bit of a patchwork of tiles and color, with long corridors connecting to the bus terminals, platforms, and surface-level parking lots. The main art installation on the concourse level was made in 1965 by Krystyna Sadowska, called Rhythm of Exotic Plants. Sadowska was a Polish artist who worked at the Ontario College of Art. The work was donated shortly after the station opened. Across from the artwork are a few retail outlets catering to the thousands of daily commuters. Descending another level and you reach the platforms. The yellow paneling is a recent update, but it somehow fits right in with the vintage feel of this station. I just want to take a minute to say thanks to DJI for sponsoring this video, which was shot entirely on their new Osmo Pocket 4. So I've actually never used one of these cameras before, and it was a lot of fun to work with it for the first time. And I own and use a lot of other DJI products like their drone and their action cameras, and I've always been really impressed with the footage and the results that I get. So it was an easy yes when DJI reached out and asked if I wanted to partner up for the launch of their new pocket camera. The Osmo Pocket 4 is a great travel option for those who want to step up from their smartphones. It delivers better image quality with true-to-life colors in a lightweight and compact form, allowing even beginners to capture cinematic footage. Once I dialed in my settings, I really think I came up with a look that I'm happy with, and you don't have to be a professional to get this look. The camera comes with built-in film tones, and my favorite is the warm tone. The camera also features a brand new 1-inch CMOS sensor with 14 stops of dynamic range, which is the same as my professional cameras. This little powerhouse also supports 10-bit color, allowing for more flexibility to color grade and make adjustments in post. For me personally, the film tones get my footage to basically exactly where I want it to be anyway. And for most people, I think this is what makes the camera so compelling. You can get exceptional image quality that competes with professional footage, but in a super small, travel-friendly setup. The Pocket 4 also has 2 stops of improved low-light performance over the previous version. It also offers a 2x lossless zoom during recording. And one of the coolest features of this camera is the Active Track 7. A simple wave of the hand activates the tracking, and a peace sign starts recording. The Active Track is awesome for tracking moving objects or people, as it keeps them right in the center of the frame. The 4K 240 frames per second slow motion is super fun too, and the image quality is excellent. The skin tones produced from this camera are amazing too, rendering very flattering, radiant, and clear skin tones. And to top it off, I recorded the entire video and this integration without an SD card. This camera has 107 gigabytes of built-in storage. Anyway, the rest of this video is shot on the DJI Osmo Pocket 4, and I will put my settings on screen. If you're interested in checking out the Pocket 4, it's available here in Canada for $649 Canadian and $829 Canadian for the Creator Combo. The Yonge extension was originally only going to be Lawrence, York Mills, Sheppard, and Finch. But in the years after the extension was opened, the idea of a station at North York began to evolve as the community grew. The idea was championed by then Mayor of North York, Mel Lastman. But because the subway line was already built, it meant that they needed to construct the new station along the existing subway tracks. Evidence of this can be seen in the unusually thick center columns between the tracks. While the rest of the stations on the extension opened in the 1970s, this station didn't open until 1987. But it feels like it fits right in with little to no aesthetic change, which is surprising given how distinct 80s style and design can be. On the walls along the platform on both sides of the tracks are these murals by Susanna and Nicholas Graven. They depict scenes from the 1800s of North York and the surrounding farmlands. They're made with over 5,000 tiles and took a year to make. An interesting quirk of this station is the temporary walls that have been in place since the station opened. Behind the walls is retail space that was never utilized, which is funny because the neighborhood here is one of the most commercialized areas in this section of the subway line, and the corridors below the street connect to malls on both sides of Yonge Street. At street level is the former downtown of North York, before it was amalgamated with Toronto. Today, the area is a bustling metropolitan neighborhood with residential towers, shopping malls, a movie theater, and many parks and green spaces for residents. Part of its growth is no doubt thanks to the subway station, which makes this a great neighborhood for city commuters. It's also a great place to glance back in time to when the area wasn't much more than just farmland. I love that this area has kept a strong connection to its past with artwork and heritage buildings. A short walk from the station is Gibson House, which provides a stark contrast at life during the 1800s compared to today. The farmhouse belonged to Scottish immigrant David Gibson, who is a land surveyor, farmer, and politician. Also, big shout out to Kirk Lepitan, who joined me to film this video. You might recognize him from YouTube or Instagram. He does camera gear and tech reviews, and he's always been a really good source of information for me. He's a professional editor, so he really knows his stuff. And I will link his Instagram and his YouTube down below if you want to check out his stuff. At the heart of North York is Mel Lastman Square, designed by architect J. Michael Kirkland and Floyd and Gerard Landscape Architects. The public square opened in 1989 as a civic space for the city of North York. The plaza was the centerpiece of the North York City Hall, Central Library, and Toronto District School Board. It is often the location of local markets and events, like Tastes of Southeast Asia. Like most Toronto neighborhoods, North York is home to a diverse population, with many residents of Asian descent. You'll find a lot of great Asian restaurants and cafes along Yonge Street. Stepping off at Sheppard-Yonge, and you're immediately hit with a different design aesthetic, even though it was built and opened around the same time as the other stations along this extension, although at some point it got some kind of facelift. There's something about this design aesthetic that I really like. It has hints of Art Deco with the strong cylindrical columns, rounded stainless steel, and bold straight lines. A generally darker, moodier atmosphere is noticeable compared to the last two stations. As you move up from the platform level, you're met with a very un-Art Deco installation. The work is called Immersion Land by Stacy Spiegel. It's made with over 1.5 million tiles and created from 150 digital photos. The scenes depicted are of Yonge Street or Highway 11 from Lake Ontario to North Bay. Sheppard-Yonge is an interchange station where you can disembark from Line 1 and jump on Sheppard Line 4. This upper level is designed by the architect firm NORR Limited and built in 2002. It's the same firm that took the lead on the Union Station revitalization project and new Eglinton Line 5 station. I don't have a ton of info on this, but I was surprised to learn that this new platform level for Line 4 was built between Yonge Street at the surface and the original Line 1 platform underneath. So it was sandwiched right in between. But like many of Toronto's stations, the design and aesthetic of the older and newer sections have very little in common. Yet another different look is at the bus terminal, which to get to is a weird journey through corridors, along a subway platform, and up an escalator. And this is where you'll find the most 70s look of this station. These giant portholes really offer nothing in the way of function. I would understand it if there were windows on one side and the portholes allowed natural light or something, but they're simply a design feature, perhaps just to break up the monotony of the corridor. For a short time, York Mills Station was actually the northern terminus of Line 1. The look and feel of the platform is so different from the previous station, although Sheppard used to look something like this. To me, it feels like a 50s diner theme. An interesting fact about this station is that it was built deep underground so that the tunnel passes under the Don River's west branch. And the name York Mills comes from the legacy of flour, cider, and sawmills that operated along the Don River. The area directly south of the station is called Hogg's Hollow, in honor of one of the earliest settlers and mill owners, James Hogg. Like most subway stations in the city, this one also features artwork, but this is not in celebration. This is in honor of some lives lost while building the city. The artwork here is by Laura Swim, called Breaking Ground. It pays tribute to the Hogg's Hollow disaster of 1960, which left 5 immigrant workers dead. It was late in the day on Thursday, March 17th, and about 12 workers were still underground welding steel plates in a compression chamber below the Don River. The work was part of an ongoing effort to connect a pumping station with the water distribution on the other side, but the project was plagued with delays, which meant a lot of corners were cut, including those that impacted worker safety. As immigrants, they had fewer working rights, and I'm sure that they would have been afraid to complain or say something and potentially lose their job. Witnesses later testified that the tunnels lacked safety equipment. The timber supports were not strong enough, and there were no extra air compressors to help keep the sand and silt from seeping into the tunnels. They didn't even have flashlights. It's believed that a spark from the welding work ignited some flammable material and it quickly spread. A valve that would have allowed the smoke to blow out of the tunnel wouldn't open. And through the chaos of the situation, the air compressor that helped keep sand, silt, and water from seeping in was turned off. Half the workers managed to escape, and another man was rescued, but 5 remained trapped as the tunnel heated up from the fire and filled with carbon monoxide and water. It apparently took 5 days to retrieve the bodies. A coroner's jury later ruled that the deaths were preventable, stating that this was the inevitable result of the failure to implement and enforce regulations. The media coverage and community outrage forced the Ontario government to call a royal commission. This resulted in new regulations on fire protection, worker safety, and a major overhaul of the province's labor laws. The Hogg's Hollow disaster was a pivotal moment in Canadian labor history. Arriving at Lawrence Station, and we're now entering Midtown Toronto. The station has a similar design aesthetic as York Mills, but with a red and yellow color palette instead of the 1950s diner palette. When this station opened in 1973, it was the largest and deepest station on the network. The design throughout Lawrence Station feels more unified than some of the previous stops. The orange-red brick and the gray and white tile pattern is repeated throughout, giving a cohesive experience as you walk through the many corridors and levels. There's something comforting about this station. The brick brings some sense of warmth, and the fact that you're not constantly having to readjust to new visuals and colors like the other stations make this station more pleasant to walk through. The neighborhood and station are named after the Lawrence family, who settled here in the 1800s and operated a tannery near the intersection of Yonge and Lawrence Avenue West. Just down the street from the station is Alexander Muir Gardens. The park was created in 1933 to honor Alexander Muir, who wrote and composed the song The Maple Leaf Forever. Incredibly, you can actually bike or walk through forest and trails from Alexander Muir Gardens all the way down to like Corktown and the Portlands. And if you take a slightly different route, you can go all the way east into Scarborough. If you want to go for a nice neighborhood walk, check out Lawrence Park with its immaculate gardens and beautiful old estates. It's one of the wealthiest and most sought after neighborhoods in the city. So we finally reached the original subway line. This is Eglinton Station. At one time, many decades ago, this station was the original northern terminus for Toronto's only subway line. It opened in 1954 along with several other stations between here and Union Station. But walking through here today, you'd never know it was one of the originals, which is really unfortunate. I tried to find something that was original like this flooring. However, after reviewing historical photos, I can't seem to match this floor with anything from the original construction photos. And with the addition of the new Eglinton LRT, the station is going to continue to change. change. And if you know of any locations in the station that still have original material or have their original design aesthetic, please leave a comment below because I'd love to know. But Eglinton Station comes out right in the heart of Midtown Toronto. Yonge and Eglinton is one of the city's major intersections, and it's also a major commercial center with retail, restaurants, and many high-rise residential towers. But this area looks drastically different today than it did when the subway was first built. As World War II drew to a close, the TTC anticipated major growth in the city, which would mean a bigger demand for efficient transportation. In the very early 1900s, some people in Toronto tried to get a subway built, including a candidate who was running for mayor, but the local newspapers gave it a lot of bad press and suggested it would be too expensive, so it was shut down. And these proposals from the early 1900s, and again when it was picked up again in the 1940s, is all because of traffic congestion. In the 1940s, public opinion changed and was overwhelmingly in favor of improving the public transit and building a subway. Originally, a much larger network was proposed, but due to a lack of federal funding, that plan was scaled back to just the Yonge line from Union to Eglinton. I'm going to dive deeper into the history of the original line in a future video. Anyway, thank you so much to DJI for sponsoring this video and providing me with this little camera, the Osmo Pocket 4. This camera is a great little companion, especially on shoots like this where I'm walking all day and need to capture stable, high-quality 4K footage. The low-light capabilities are very useful too, especially in dark subway stations and when capturing the city lights. Links below if you're interested in checking out this camera for capturing your travel and family memories. I'm Mark, and I make videos about interesting Canadian places and experiences. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. See ya.